Hey everyone, so there's one fishery that we can all look forward to in Vancouver in September once every 2 years is the Fraser River pink salmon fishery. So pink salmon is the smallest species out of all the Pacific salmon. They have a 2-year life cycle, so once every 2 years they'll make their way into the Fraser, and usually the run is up to over 10 million fish. In 2013, we're expecting at least 16 million fish, so that's a lot of fish coming through in 1 month, within the month of September. It's like I say, it's a very popular fishery. It's a very family-friendly fishery. Parents can bring their kids out and try to get the kids to catch their first salmon, and it's a really good introductory fishery for newcomers, for anyone who wants to get into the fishing, or lure fishing particularly. So in this How to Fish video, we'll take a look at the spinning setup that you need to have when fishing for Fraser River pink salmon. The easiest way to catch pink salmon is probably casting and retrieving spoons and spinners. So like I said, these fish are the smallest salmon out of all the species. They range between 3 and 6 pound test. Occasionally you get one much bigger than that, up to 8 pound, 10 pound. But most of the fish are within that size range. So you want to choose a rod and reel setup that's reasonable, that's suitable for these fish. So I got 3 different fishing rods right here that I'm going to demonstrate. So these are Shimano Claris, which are really fantastic rods. The one behind me is a Ultralight trout fishing rod. So this rod here is 6 foot long, is rated 2 to 6 pound test. It's ideal for trout fishing in lakes and rivers, like I said, but you can actually use this for pink salmon because it's kind of within that pink salmon size range. You might find it a little more challenging when the fish gets a little bigger. So this usually goes with a small reel spooled with 6 pound test line, and you can have a lot of fun with it. But the only problem is the Fraser River water is full of debris and silt, and 6 pound test line can really get damaged quite easily when you have fought with quite a few pink salmon, just because the abrasion in the water and things like that. So, but it's definitely worth a try if you're not into, if you just want to catch a few fish, get the most fight out of the fish, you can go with the ultralight setup like that. So the second rod we'll look at is this one right here. So this fishing rod, spinning rod, is rated 8 to 12 pound test. It's 8.5 foot long. This is a really good rod for a variety of salmon species. So for coho salmon, for small Chinook salmon, for chum salmon, it's all really good. And also pink salmon. The only problem is, again, rated 8 to 12 pound test. It's just a little bit outside of the pink salmon size range. So you might find this rod slightly too heavy, and the fish won't fight as hard when you bring them in. But again, if you don't just want to target pink salmon, you want to try out the other salmon species, I would say go for this one. So this one lets you fish for other species as well once the pink salmon season is over. The third one we'll look at is this one right here. This is my favorite. So this is 9 foot long. It's rated 6 to 10 pound test, and 6 to 10 pound test, that's within the pink salmon size range, and it's really good just for a couple reasons. The tip of this rod is really sensitive, and so you can detect all the bites from pink salmon. Sometimes the bites can be really light, surprisingly, and it's got a really strong backbone, so even when you hook into a fairly big fish, you can usually manage to bring them in without any problems. So this rod right here is fitted with a what I got here, it's a Shimano Sustain 2500. You should look for a reel that's around this size, and this reel is spooled with 8 pound test line. So before I mentioned that 6 pound test line is a little too light for the Fraser River, just because the abrasion can cause by debris and silt and things like that. I find that 8 pound test is still light enough for pink salmon, but at the same time it's heavy enough, it's thick enough to withstand all that abrasion, all that abuse you get when fishing in the Fraser River. So definitely there's many different choices. It really depends on what you want to get out of when you do the pink salmon fishing. So ultralight setup for really exciting fishing, for catching a few fish and getting the most fight out of them. You can go with a heavier setup so you can trail some cold salmon fishing and Chinook salmon fishing later on. Or you can get a rod like this that's specifically for pink salmon fishing, so different ones. So let's look at fishing lures. So fishing lures, my favorite fishing lure for many years, since I started fishing for pink salmon back in the mid-90s, these Gibbs croc spoons. And you've seen me using these in cutthroat trout fishery at Ultralight earlier this year. But I was using smaller lures because they were trout. So the lures I used were 1/8 ounce and 1/16 ounce. This is a 1/4 ounce Gibbs croc spoon, and generally that's the size you want to go with. 1/4 ounce can allow you to cast this lure out pretty far. If you find this lure doesn't cast as far as you want it, you can go up to 3/8 ounce as well, and they also have those available. So the popular pink salmon fishing lures will be orange ones like these. So orange with a flashy sticky tape on top, or pink ones. You also have silver with pink stripes on it. But I've also caught them on something like these. These ones, silver on one side and green scales on the other side. So you don't necessarily have to use just pink. Pink is not the only color that will work for pink salmon. As long as the fish can see your lure in the water, it's all good. You should be able to catch them. So what do you do with this? So let's if you open one of these up, let's see. The first thing you do is you'll notice that there's a barb on the hook. So when fishing in the Fraser River, the regulation permits you to use a single point, which is like this one here, but barbless hook. So this barb has to come off. So the only way to do this is to grab a pair of pliers, like so, pair of pliers, and just pinch that down. And there's a good reason for this. This allows you to release a fish, to get the hook out of the fish really easily if you need to release it. So that will reduce any damage to the fish. And the other thing is, it's for a safety issue. So if you hook yourself by accident, if that barb is on there, it can be fairly painful to get that hook out of your body. Whereas if the hook is barbed like that, the damage is a lot less. So once you have done that, you notice that the spoon, there's a swivel on the other side, and this just ties directly to your main line. You don't need to do anything else. So the fishing rod is set up like that, and once you have your line threaded through all the guides, come out, and this is the end of your main line, and you just tie that swivel onto the main line, and that's all you need. You don't need to add any more weight to the line because this is heavy enough for you to cast out. Some people add little split shots or sliding weights on top, but yes, you might be able to cast out a little bit further, but having two weights on your line can really affect your casting ability, and also it also affects your retrieving as well when you bring this lure in. So the whole point of lure fishing is so that you cast this out, this sinks down, it'll swim in the water, the fish sees it, and hopefully you'll grab onto it and you'll get hooked. So what do you have to do? So you don't just cast it out and retrieve it really fast. What you want to do is you cast this out, allow this to sink a little bit for a few seconds, and slowly retrieve it back. The Fraser River water clarity is not exactly clear. You're looking at between 2 feet, 3 feet will be really good. So it takes a bit of effort for the fish to see it. So by slowing the lure down, you give the fish a bit more time to see where your lure is. And when you're retrieving this lure, pay attention to your rod tip. A lot of times the fish can really grab it really hard and you should have no problem hooking it. It's just really heavy tug at the end of the line, and that's when you set the hook and just bring the fish in. But a lot of times the fish can, just kind of nibble onto your lure. Just you feel these light taps going on. I found this out many years ago, is that I was feeling a little tiny taps, and I thought the lure was dragging on the bottom, but in fact it was a pink salmon following behind the lure, just tapping onto the lure. Eventually, after a while, it actually commit and grab onto the lure. But so when you feel those taps, slow the lure down a little bit more, and that can kind of surprise the fish sometimes, and it will actually commit and bite onto the lure. So there you have it. As you can see, the pink salmon fishing setup is very simple. All you need to do is get yourself a spinning rod and a spinning reel. The spinning reel is filled with 8-pound test fishing line, and you want to get a box of lure like that. Different lures of different spinners and spoons. So usually I just have this and carry that in my pocket. And the best time to fish for pink salmon is in the first 3 weeks of September in the Fraser River. So all you got to do is go down to the river during the incoming tide, and you should be able to see thousands of pink salmon moving into the river. And make sure you get your fishing license as well. If you're fishing the tidal portion of the Fraser River, you need a saltwater fishing license. And if you're fishing the non-tidal portion of the Fraser River, you need a freshwater fishing license. And make sure you have a salmon stamp if you decide to keep some salmon for dinner as well. And hopefully you guys will get into some nice fish. And until next time, good luck fishing.